and say I appreciate y'all. I see y'all in the chat. Chris J, J Max, Trap and Slay. What's up? Kojak, Yakar, Wealth Building Journey. Yeah, I got some
What's
nice
up?
views.
What's up? What's up?
And then
What's
the
up?
place that I'm gonna be, our second place.
Decided I want to do another around the world. Got a good idea. No. Took me forever to do the last one, and I didn't think I would do it again. At this point, it's not even a challenge. Just a thing to do. So, I'm not going to talk much. It's about 2 a.m. 2 a.m. 2 a.m. That means nobody's watching. That's fine too. But I'm going to do a little different this time. I'm going up instead of the side. Because both of my previous around the world expeditions were basically the same. I would go from the east coast of the United States left until I came back to the east coast. But now I'm going to go up, which technically should be a shorter distance. So let's get this started. I'll be listening to some AD. Probably don't know who that is if anyone's watching, but you'll get to know him if you're listening, just like I am. So let's get it popping, bruh. I don't think I'll do music this time, or if I do, it'll be in the background, very low. So here we go.
It's got some nice view, even better views downtown. So that's gonna be up. And Jay got it the hard way. What up? What up? What up to everybody in the chat? I appreciate y'all. And we got Stock Club tomorrow, so I'm gonna be dropping that in the Patreon later on today for y'all to be able to tap in. And we're gonna be doing a live stream and Patreon exclusive just tomorrow. So if you're not a part of the Patreon, link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Global Chef, I'm coming. I promise you, I'm coming to Hawaii. Absolutely. And for those of y'all that may be just seeing this for the first time, this is an interactive show. Again, it is unplanned in that it's not normal for me to do a live stream on a Saturday, but why not? We can hang loose, kick it a little bit, and then have some conversations. One more thing before we get into the show. Again, we're not going to do quick hits. One more thing before we get into the show. I will be live streaming on After Hours tonight. I was supposed to live stream on After Hours last night, but my power had went out. So, I had to put a community post on the After Hours channel and then say, hopefully the power will be back on this morning, which it is, thank God. And so I do plan on doing a live stream tonight on After Hours, and then we got Stock Club tomorrow. We're just going to keep it moving, all right? So everything is getting back in the groove. We know that life circumstances happen, power go out and all of that. But either way, we still don't miss. And even if we are disrupted, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't be making it up. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to get to it. Thank you to everybody that continue to hold me down. Thank you, Latrell, for the super chat. I appreciate you. And thank you to everybody that's here today. I know a lot of y'all probably, especially that's in this cold weather. Some of y'all are in warmer weather. Some of y'all in the cooler weather. I just appreciate y'all for rocking with me at all. So thank you, thank you, thank you. You are much appreciated. Again, shout out to Teej Hanley. Shout out to Latrell. I appreciate you, Latrell. Teej Hanley, 30% off your first order plus a free gift. I appreciate you, Teej, for continuing to hold us down. And again, if you guys are not a part of the Patreon, then make sure you tap into the Patreon. The link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. We do some great, awesome things in there, and we're going to continue to run it up. All right, so y'all ready to get started with the show? Again, it might be a little bit more condensed because we're not going to do After Hours, and we're just going to get straight to it. I'm happy to see you too, Cynthia. Thank you. You joining the Patreon after work. Shout out to the bag chasers. Can we get a round of... We got a lot of new bag chasers. I seen somebody sent me a clip yesterday of what somebody was saying about me. I don't know why y'all keep sending me clips, but I do find it entertaining now. And they said, yeah, and he only got and his little 500 bag chasers. First of all, 500 is a huge number of people that rock with you. If you can get 500 people in a room that say, yo, I rock with you, then that's dope. But I think that we're a little bit more closer to 5,000. Not 500. Let me see. Let me check the numbers. Not 500. More like 5,000, ma'am. No, we're not at quite five. We're not quite at 5,000 right now. We're at 4815. Yep. Membership summary 4815. And for those of you that want to see that number, I have no problem with showing that. That is not a problem. Membership summary 4815. Let me go ahead and show that to you guys really quickly. But I want to get that to 5,000 by the end of the month. So I'm thinking that we'll probably break that by the end of the week. There you go. So we have 4875 actually. 4875 members on the Patreon. You can see it up there in the upper left hand corner. That's patreon.com/insights/membership. And so that's what we got up. So we got a lot of chasers. We got a lot of people that love what we do. A lot of people that rock with us. When I say that we have a whole community of people, that we got an army, I mean it. I don't cap. Ain't no cap in my rap. Ain't no cap in my rap. We have an army. An army. Yes, AL, we doing a makeup show for the day because of what happened on Tuesday. So we got an army. At the very least, if y'all gonna talk, make sure you get my numbers right. You know I got the receipts to back it up. Alright? So shout out to all of the chasers. Shout out to all of the people that rock out with me. I appreciate y'all. I rock with y'all. Let's go ahead and get into the show. Shout out to Trap and Slays.
Place to keep the new arrivals warm. The buses are parked around the landing zone for migrants to enter after their arrival. Once migrants are in a shelter, they have a deadline for when they must leave. Now, because of the cold weather, they will now have a grace period.
New arrivals who have received a 60-day notice will not be required to leave shelter for the next week. Individuals who were set to exit between January 16th and 21st will be able to remain in shelter until at least January 22nd.
Where are they supposed to go when they leave shelter is what I'm asking. Yeah, the meetups are crazy. If y'all never been to a meetup, y'all need to come to a meetup. Where are these migrants where are they supposed to go once they leave shelter? Because y'all don't have enough space. They building out tent cities. They renovated the CVS over there in Chicago. Shout out to Love C. Where are these people supposed to go once they leave? And I can't wait till I get to the Keith Lee segment of the show, because Keith Lee gave a little bit of insight that I think people missed when he went and toured over on the Bay Area. But I'm going to get there. We're going to get there today. This is the most chaotic. I'm trying to be careful with my words, because there's some words that I want to use that I can't use, that I choose not to use on the Millionaire Morning Show. This is the most chaotic, idiotic, base-headed. This is what we used to call the no plan plan. The no plan is the way that we used to describe people that live their lives a certain way, but then you had to coach them through it, right? So somebody would call me and they would get a coaching call, and they weren't intentional, and they'll say, yeah, man, I'm just out here living a dream or whatever. And I say, oh, okay, so why are you here? What are you trying to do? Why are you getting this coaching call? I just want to do better in life. Oh, okay, cool. That's great. I'm glad that you came here. You're at the right place. So describe your situation, and then they'll start to break down their situation. And basically, they smoke weed all day. They hang out in their mother's basement. They have no education, dropped out of school, dropped out of high school, and they never went and got their GED, don't have no job, but somehow they scraped up a little bit of money in order to be able to talk to me to get a coaching call. And I'm like, fam, you're not only going backwards, but you're on a no plan. Basically meaning that they figuring it out as they go. All aspects of our life, we supposed to have some sort of guide, even if we just on a treadmill, even if we running in a rat's race. We doing this rat race that we got going on. We're supposed to be on some sort of path, or at least we imagine that we on one in our lives. Everybody, even to the next segment of the show. All right, let's get to it. So, considering everything that was going on with the migrant crisis and the changes that's happening in our lives, there's been a lot of reports that's been coming across my desk and my emails and on my algorithm about people that vote blue moving into red states. This is happening huge over in Florida. And so I want to go over a video that was sent to me. I have not seen it. I have not rocked out with it yet. So I definitely want to review it. But this is a big thing. And people in Texas are saying, listen, don't turn our state into your state. Let's get into it.
Young Americans fleeing Democrat-run states. Gen Z folks left states like New Jersey, California, Illinois, and New York. Millennials are flocking too. Are we talking Gen Z people who are millennials? It's both, okay. And millennials are flocking to states like Texas, Georgia, and Florida. Ricky Schlott is with me this morning. What's doing? Why are Gen Z folks leaving? They don't pay taxes. What's going on?
Well, a lot of us do pay taxes, and we're starting to pay taxes, which
11 to 26-year-olds don't pay much in tax.
No. However, the older Gen Zers, I think, are the ones that are moving. 11-year-olds aren't picking up and U-Haul into the next state if they're living with their parents still. But I would say for young professionals, they actively vote against Republicans, but actually seem to like some of the benefits, which would be a lower cost of living, perhaps more safety, and crime concerns are less rampant than in blue states and blue cities. But I think most of all, it's the taxes, and also the ability as a young person starting your career today, you can start somewhere else. You would traditionally go to a city because you might have better job opportunities, but now you can be remote.
This is
I think it all comes back down to selfishness. It comes down to selfishness, and it comes down to mindset. Mindset first. Let's attack the mindset aspect of it. The first part of it is that, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to shoot you some bail. For all of y'all that continue to say, Batman Orange, and I can't believe it, but then y'all run over from California over to Texas, or you go from New York down to Florida or some crap like that, right? Or you go from Seattle over to Nashville, and you still bring your voting habits with you. I have to shoot you some bail. Before I get on you, I got to shoot you some bail, because I want this to be an understanding. I don't want this to be me holding you accountable without any context behind it. The understanding is this. Some of us come from spaces, because I've even admitted to you guys on this program that during Obama's first term, I voted for Obama. I voted for Obama. When Obama was voted in office in 2008, I was suffering. I was going through it. But then on top of that, I had come from a very, very conservative family that always voted blue based off of the idea that they were always sold that Republicans was for the rich and Democrats was for the poor. They didn't even evaluate the different candidates that was on the Democratic ticket. They just automatically voted straight down blue based off of what was taught to us. And so a lot of us adopt the same principles, mindset, lifestyle. I try to be empathetic to some of these people before I get on them, because I understand that they're not telling me something that wasn't programmed into them. I'm trying to break into their matrix head so that they can understand that they need to do things a little bit differently, because most of the ways that you live in is already based off of conservative principles. The separation of church and state, right? Less taxes, smaller government. All of these things are Republican values based off of a conservative perspective that you already live. But the thing that they then get that gets to them, which is basically programmed in them, is to be distracted by the perceived idea of racism, even though black people, if you want to just really be honest about it and do your research, were originally Republicans. Republicans were the ones that fought to free the slaves. For whatever reason of why they got freed, it was Republicans that stood on that, and Democrats was actually the ones that were the racists. They were the ones that was continuing to try to enslave you, but somehow, some way, over a period of time, especially when you start to adopt the idea of feminism, breaking up your household, forcing you to tie yourself to the government through food stamps and social services and programs, you believed that, and you were reprogrammed over a period of time to actually believe that it's something that it's not. It's not true. It's absolutely not true. All you got to do is go back and do your research. That's why we got libraries. That's why we got the internet. You can even go through ChatGPT to really understand it. But my point is this. The reason why I'm shooting you a little bit of bail is because this is something that was given to you through your mama, your grandmama, your daddy, your stepdaddy, and all of that other type of stuff. Your step baby daddy and all of that. They programmed you to believe this. They programmed you to think this. It's not that you had this thought on your own. 99% of the things that we experience in life and the ways that we think is given to us based off of something that somebody taught us. Life experiences is the other 1% until you get a little bit older. That's why you start to see people that start to get resources and get more wisdom. They start to switch over from the Democratic Party over into the Republican Party. There's nothing wrong with the way that you used to vote. It's more or less something wrong with the fact that you don't continue to evolve, or you don't want to admit that you're evolving, and then you want to save somebody else from doing the same thing and having the same mindset as you. I'm not telling you that you got to vote one way or the other. I'm telling you that you're uninformed, and everything that you're thinking is based off of something that somebody gave to you, especially your mother.
It's a long-running trend, though, isn't it? And it's probably not going to stop in the near future.
Yeah, although I would say that such young people going to non-urban centers is pretty unique, just because you can, you don't have to pay exorbitant rent just to have the job opportunity when you can post up on Zoom from a red state and pay less taxes and be happier.
It's not a return to rural America, is it?
I think it's a return to smaller urban centers and not necessarily just New York and LA. And I have a lot of friends who would have otherwise come to New York, but were able to take jobs and live somewhere else, and the cost.
It's not that the party switched. It's the idea of black people thinking that their values were really democratic when in reality it was really conservative, or it was really liberal, but in reality we've always been conservative. The narrative has switched behind why you think you vote the way that you vote. The switching is in the context. That's why I'm adding this context into the conversation.
So living is considerably different.
But you live in New York City.
I do indeed.
Okay.
I'm here. I'm trapped.
Okay, yeah, that's right. You have a new piece. I'm going to read it for you, read it for the audience. Bipartisan Congress wants to defund colleges over legacy admissions, and it's about time. Ricky wrote that, and she's with us this morning. You really don't like legacy admissions.
I really don't like legacy
Why not? What's wrong?
It's true. Well, so I'm in favor of this Merit Act. It would tie federal funding to requiring that schools don't have legacy admissions, because I think that, especially in the wake of the affirmative action case in the Supreme Court, we should be worried about tacking towards meritocracy and going back to restoring faith in the fact that a diploma from an elite institution should mean that you don't have some sort of special interest of some immutable characteristic beyond your control. We should level the playing field, and I think a legacy should be able to be admitted, but they should be able to earn it without that status being known by an admissions officer.
The thing about people that move into blue state or move from blue states and red states, and the reason why a lot of people that are conservative usually say, hey, don't move here, is because they don't want you to bring your same voting habits, which you will. And that's why when you see a lot of people that move into a lot of these urban communities, let's take Houston, for example. Houston, in my opinion, is ground zero for the worst of America. I know we can say Chicago, but Chicago has always been Chicago. Chicago hasn't changed. We're just now starting to figure out how bad Chicago is because we have social media and we have the ability to communicate and do research a lot quicker than we have been in years past. But Houston, in my opinion, is ground zero for what is wrong with America. Houston is the new Atlanta. And Houston has always been blue, but Texas is red, right? And a lot of people that live in Houston is not from Houston, in the same way that a lot of people that move down to Atlanta is not really from Atlanta. They are transplants. There are people that came there, ruined the community, and then now they moved over into Houston. And what you see over in Houston and a lot of the places that's over in Texas is people that transition from other places, whether they have money or they don't have money. You got people moving over from California, Michigan, New York, all over. A lot of people over in Houston are actually from New Orleans. You bet you didn't know that. People forgot all about the levees breaking and Katrina and all of this stuff, right? And people moved over to Houston that's not even from Houston, and now they just claim Houston, or they say, no, man, I'm from New Orleans. No, you're not from Houston now. And you're not from Texas, but you stayed and you brought your voting patterns based off of the environment that people that were more conservative created a space for you to have more freedom to do what you wanted to do, and then you took it, and now you're trying to turn Texas into California. Listen, I wouldn't even doubt, if you don't have strong governors like Greg Abbott and stuff like that, I wouldn't doubt even for a second, not even for a second, that Texas would start having higher taxes. They would probably have a completely different perspective, all of that. Texas is just too big right now. And so right now, Texas is like its own city. It's too much opportunity still. It's not enough transplants there. But I wouldn't doubt in my mind, not even a little bit, that Texas is going to start looking more like California, especially considering that a lot of people from California is actually moving into Texas. That was part of what happened during the pandemic. But listen, if you're going to go somewhere, I don't even believe in I know I believe in the freedom to do what you want to do, okay? I believe in the freedom to buzz down who you want to buzz down all day. But the one thing that I don't believe in, I believe that most people should spend more time trying to fix the area that they in based off of how they voted than trying to move over into somewhere else and ruin it and take your same voting patterns and the ways that you think over there. I never moved out of Detroit. I visit other places, but I was more focused. And again, you got to remember, Detroit was the first major city that really declared bankruptcy, and we was at the center in the 2008 crisis. Now that Detroit is doing significantly better and going well, I would rather spend my time trying to turn Michigan back to red and Detroit in the red and taking more conservative values and principles into my city and being an influence that way than trying to run down to somewhere else where they already got it together. I'd rather transition a place that I'm already in and spend my time focused on that than trying to run away from the thing that we created. I may not have created it by myself. I might not have even been a part of the creation of it. I could have been, I'm probably a lot more of a benefit than I am a hurt to my city. But at the same time, I'd rather spend my time in the city where I'm from and trying to change that than trying to run over to somewhere else. And this is just me personally. I'm not telling you what to do. I'd rather spend my time in my own city focused on that and pouring money and resources into where I'm from than in a place where I was born and raised, than the place where I can try to run into and turn it into the place that I'm running away from. But that's just my perspective. Let me read a couple more super chats and then we're going to move over into the next thing because I do want to get into the Keith Lee thing. Thank y'all for the super chats. AL hit me with 3. He says they changed their names from immigrants to migrants. No, asylum seekers too. Is there a possibility that their home countries have become or are becoming U.S. territories? I have no idea. Let me figure that out. Thank you, Aaron. He also says it's funny they call themselves a part of certain parties, but most of them have never voted in a primary to at least ensure their candidates are decent. 8% vote, less than 8% voter turnout rate for the last mayoral election in Houston. Less than 8% voter turnout rate for the last mayoral election in Houston. You are absolutely right, bro. Register. That Keith Lee. I guess. So Keith Lee is going viral again, and there's some other people that's going viral also. I actually ran into a guy at the airport. I guess they really criticizing him for his review of what was happening in another particular city or something like that. I don't know. But Keith Lee is going viral again. And I was seeing a lot of news reports of news stations reporting on what Keith Lee did or what was happening over in the Bay Area. But he basically stopped his Bay Area tour and he wouldn't review or release reviews on a lot of the different restaurants that he went to over in the Bay Area. But rather than sourcing it straight from the news and getting their opinion on this one, luckily we have the ability to get it straight out of Keith Lee's mouth. So he did a couple of TikToks that we're going to go over right now. And he's going to break down, I have not seen the TikToks at all, but he's going to break down exactly why he stopped his Bay Area tour. And I have a sneaking suspicion, and we're going to see if I'm right. I have this sneaking suspicion that it's going to largely be based off of the fact that the Bay Area is trash. And it also spilled over into his restaurants. The whole culture of the Bay has turned trash. Let's go ahead and get into it. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications. Shout out to my people on Facebook, shout out to my people on YouTube. Make sure you tap into the Patreon, link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Let's get to it, y'all.
Unfortunately, the Bay Area stop on the Keith Lee and family food tour is officially over prematurely, and we're going to get straight to it. Let's talk about it. There are a few reasons why, as a family, we decided to end the food tour short. But before I get to that, I truly want to say from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate every single bit of love. The people of the Bay were absolutely amazing, and I'll never forget the hospitality and the love that y'all showed. Reason number 1, I truly don't believe the Bay is a place for tourists right now, and that's what I was, a tourist. The people in the Bay are just focused on surviving. That's the business owners, the locals. The amount of tents and living structures and burned up cars that we saw people living in was shocking to say the least.
I knew it. I figured it. I figured that. And I have not seen this video ahead of time or these videos ahead of time. I actually had them made for me by my editor, and then we uploaded it, and I said that I was going to review this. When I started going through the different topics that I wanted to travel through, it was one of the things that was on my list. But that mindset, that survival mindset, is something that we used to experience in Detroit. And it's still a lot of people that still have that mindset. I mean, you got that mindset because there's hoods everywhere. But when an entire area becomes a hood that wasn't supposed to be it, that's disheartening, because I know what it feels like to live in an area that majority of the people, including myself at the time, had a survivalist mindset. He said most of these, look at that sign right there. Beware of pickpockets. And he said, listen, the Bay is survival town. The amount of burnt up cars and tents, he said the Bay, it deserves Snake Bliskin. For a person, where's Keith Lee from? Let me see something. Let me look up Keith Lee. For Keith Lee to be from Detroit, I didn't even realize he was from Detroit. Or at least I don't remember that he was from Detroit, because I don't follow him on TikTok, I don't think. But I don't know. For somebody to not be from Detroit, or for somebody to be from Detroit and go to the, because he grew up and he's seen what the city went through, I'm guessing in 2008. For somebody to be from Detroit and to say, yo, over here is Zombieland, is wild. Is wild. To be from Detroit and to say, yo, it's Zombieland over here, and the amount of homeless people and burnt up cars and people living in tents and the needles that's on the ground or whatever it is that he's talking about is a crazy, crazy concept.
Before we went, people was comparing it to Gotham City. Now, I might not agree, but I understand where it's coming from. But I can't harp on it enough that the people are amazing. It's just an environment. And as an outsider, I wish the city would step in. I don't know if they have. I don't know if they've been trying. But just from the outside looking in, it don't seem like it was much city interference. Reason number 2, and this is in no particular order, we went to a lot of restaurants. Popular restaurants, not popular restaurants, mom and pop shops. And this is the first city where I have over 6 videos that I don't feel comfortable with posting, because nothing about my experience was constructive, and nothing that I said was constructive. I've always been big on honesty. I've always been big on transparency. But I've never been big on completely tearing down anybody. And I feel like those 6 videos only doing that. And I've always said I'm absolutely blessed to do this, but it does take a lot of money. It does take a lot of resources to do. At the moment, everything comes out of pocket. So when we had that many restaurants that we couldn't do anything with, that was just another deciding factor. Number 3, and probably the most important, I had to go to the hospital because I had an allergic reaction to one of the meals I had. This restaurant in particular cooked a plethora of meats, including shellfish. My family specifically asked if they cooked it on the same grill. They said yes, but they would clean it. The second I ate it, I blew up like a balloon. I had to get some steroids and allergy medicine and it cleared right up. But it was a health concern nonetheless, and that was another reason why we decided to go home. I also think the Bay wasn't the target audience for what it is that we do. 90% of restaurants that the locals said had great food already boom, and the people from the Bay are a loyal community. So if your food is good, the line gonna be out the door already. And then again, we went to some of those restaurants and I wasn't a huge fan. And even if I did like all of the food at the busy spots, there's never been my MO to just go to busy spots. So those are the reasons why we decided to cut it short. But nonetheless, some amazing.
He said even the restaurants that was booming, that people was saying was awesome, that still wasn't really his cup of tea. So wait a minute. Every city that I've ever visited, including one of my favorite cities. Y'all know what my favorite slept-on city is? I love Biloxi, Mississippi. I love Biloxi. Biloxi, shout out to Greg Charlie. I'm going to read y'all super chat shortly. I know that it's easy for me to say, oh man, I love Miami and I love Dallas. That's my 1 and 2, but because Detroit is always going to be home for me. That's just the way we are. A lot of us from Detroit, we never really leave from Detroit. We always keep our home base in Detroit. So my number 1 and 2 city after that is usually Miami. That's the city that Rita likes the most. And Dallas. I've spent a lot of time in Dallas. But Biloxi, Mississippi, y'all are, that's my spot. Biloxi is a spot that you go to when everybody else is running over to Miami for spring break. When you grown, and you want that good weather and you want to be able to look out over the water, and then at the same time you living on the you hanging out at the Beau Rivage, and it's like a mini Vegas. Biloxi is like a mini Vegas, but it's like a regular city. It's like a regular city, but the casinos and the trains or the buses that go to all of the different spaces, and the people are so nice, and the food is so good, and they have some of the best restaurants that I've ever experienced in my entire life. And it's a not a military town, it's an Air Force town, right? And so you can get your little hood rat that's over in the Air Force and all of that stuff like that. Biloxi, Mississippi is probably my favorite. And then it's a hop, skipping away, literally. It's less than an hour away to drive over to New Orleans. You can go and party in New Orleans because you don't want to stay in New Orleans overnight, trust me. You go to party over New Orleans, you can get back over to Biloxi, and you can shoot up to Jackson and shoot over to the different spaces, right? Biloxi is dope. Biloxi is my favorite city to visit outside of Dallas and Miami. But I do a lot of business in Dallas.
Things did happen while we were there. Chef Green's was one of the restaurants that I went to. He had a news segment the day after we left. God, it's amazing. Mama T's also joined that category with a news segment the day after we left. God, it's amazing. And one of the places that we went that I didn't get a chance to post was a highlight of our trip. The name of it was Luxurious Cuisines. Customer service was absolutely amazing. And the food wasn't too far off of that. We went in as a family and we left for a $2,000 tip. So the trip itself wasn't all the bang. And again, I appreciate every single person that I met. I want to stress it is not normal for us to go to restaurants, not like it, and not post it. Any other time we ran into the situation, I've always had some kind of constructiveness to say, this was just different. And again, I'm always going to be transparent. I'm always going to be honest. Thank you again to everybody in the Bay Area. We'll be headed to the next spot, so God bless you. Have an amazing day. Y'all be safe.
My statements about our experience in the Bay Area have been misconstrued, so let's talk about it. I got this mask on because my allergies are still flared up. Number one, we didn't leave because of violence. Not at one point did we feel threatened or scared. We didn't get ran out of nowhere. I gave a list of reasons why we left early, and one of those reasons is because I said I don't believe the Bay is fit for tourists at the moment.
That's a pretty big statement to say that the Bay is not fit for tourists at the moment. I see Wealth Building Journey said what bases is over in Biloxi. I believe here I just looked it up. It says the Keesler Air Force, the Keesler Air Force Base. The Keesler Air Force Base is over in Biloxi, so that's what's over there. But it just sounded like he's just a really good guy and he didn't want to give no bad reviews, and that's one of the reasons why he stopped the tour over in the Bay. To say that the Bay is just completely not tourist ready, that make me want to actually go visit the Bay because I want to see how bad it is. You know me, I spent years documenting how bad it was when Detroit was really, really run down, and now we don't have any of those abandoned buildings anymore that I explored, so it's pretty interesting. But now I want to go, listen, I want to go to El Paso, I want to go to Chicago, and I want to go to the Bay. Those are some of the places that's at the top of my list. I was actually supposed to be at the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas this week. Now I'm starting to look outside and deciding that I should have been there. But we dealing with all of this health concern stuff with my wife and stuff, so that's why I'm still here in Michigan.
I said this specifically based on the spots that we had went to and the areas that we were in. I don't think any of the spots that we personally went to were conducive of a 5 to 6 hour wait time, especially with people coming directly off the plane. When I say people, I mean tourists. I don't think they were conducive of coming straight off the plane and going and waiting to these lines. As a tourist, I wouldn't wait outside 3 or 4 hours in any of those areas. Not to say people don't or people should. I just say, in my personal opinion, it didn't seem conducive. And I believe that message is synonymous with the locals because
Trap and Slay, all you got to do is look at my videos when I be walking downtown all the time. That's what it really looks like. That's what it really looks like. If you go to any of my videos when I'm walking downtown, that's what Detroit really looks like.
before we went, a lot of people were stressing the conditions of the Bay at the moment. News articles, locals, people that I spoke to on a daily basis. Number 2, we went to a lot of cities. We didn't just go to Oakland and San Francisco. We went to 6 or 7 different cities. I didn't name those specific cities because there's only a few restaurants that were recommended from those cities. And if I named the specific city, people would be able to figure out what restaurant I went to. Who didn't enjoy the food, and they would go bully those specific restaurants, even off of just guessing. So I didn't want to put random restaurants at risk of being bullied and get negative reviews from people.
It's got to be very difficult being a huge... What Keith Lee is experiencing is growing pains. He's experiencing some really, 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 really bad growing pains. Because it's basically he's gotten so big to where his opinion matters, and it could sway or help a business or kill a business, but he doesn't have thick enough skin to where he can just do what it is that he do without taking concern for who it is that he's affecting. And it's actually the characteristics of a good person but not necessarily the characteristics of the best business person. Business, you got to be ruthless. I mean, in order to do your job, you got to be absolutely real and transparent. One of the people that really bothered me when I'll share that with you after I hear what else he got to say.
Never been to that restaurant. But yeah, we went to other spots that wasn't Oakland, wasn't San Francisco. We went to the Bay. We went to trucks. We went to brick and mortars. We went to the Michelin star restaurants. We went to a lot of places. And I personally wasn't a fan of a lot of places that we went to. And I said in the previous video, it was a point where I wasn't constructive. Now, if I don't like the food, or if I don't like the customer service, or I don't like the experience, and I can still be constructive, I will be. And I've always been that. I've always been transparent with that. But this is the first time where I feel like I didn't have that, so I didn't do it. Number 3, I'm not a food influencer or a content creator. I'm Keith. A lot of people are implying that I don't do enough research, or I should have a food tour guide when I go to these cities. I'm a normal person, and our food tour has been guided for normal people. It hasn't been guided for people who can reach out to the #1 food influencer of each city, or a celebrity in each city that can be a personal tour guide for them. I want you, my mom, my family, and whoever else don't got 15 million followers to have a good experience in these places. And I'm not going to tell you I'm having an amazing experience only based on the perks that I get with having 15 million followers.
But I want to be very clear. I'm not saying I'm not tapped in or I don't do my research and watch the biggest food influencers of each city. I do a lot of research. I watch a lot of videos. And as of late with the last 2 stops, it just so happened that I have reached out to some people. But these are people that I genuinely respect and people that I actually want to meet in real life. Can I improve? Absolutely. Is there more research to be done? Absolutely. But do I feel like I should have to have a tour guide or the biggest celebrity or the biggest food influencer of each city to have an enjoyable time? No.
This is the last point that I'll touch on. Right now, we are in the research stage of doing a food tour. We are in the very beginning of the food tour. It literally just started 6 months ago. We are using this time to polish it and refine what it is that we do. So if we are blessed enough to have a TV show, we can know what works for us and what don't work for us. So that way, when we do go to these networks, we are solid in our foundation. So I can still authentically be myself, just on a bigger platform. And past all of that, I always say I'm a festival guy. I truly believe I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And if you disagree with me and you don't like me, I fully get that. And I'm not mad at you. I'm really not. Again, the people in the Bay were amazing. I'm gonna say it again. It's unfortunate that my allergies flared up. But I never once looked at the entire trip to the Bay as a fail or a disappointment. Now,
I just got 2 final points. I mean, I think that he was able to communicate his thoughts authentically, right? But I just got 2 final points about Kitikmeot. The first thing is that I know his ultimate goal is to get a TV show, food tour show, and I honestly believe that he's gonna get it. Any network that's not throwing money at this guy in order to be a part of what they got going on based off of his own organic, self-made image is crazy. If I'm a network executive, I'm throwing money at him hand over fist, and I'm going to give him whatever it is that he wants in order to be productive. That's number 1. Actually, I got 3 points because that's actually part of another point. But number 2, which feeds into number 1, is that I don't think that Keith Lee should be trying to get a network TV show. And this is just my own personal opinion. I believe that he should spend more time and he can make more money, and then he can also own the content that he creates forever by organically working on and putting himself on even more. You've already done the legwork. Why do you want to give a percentage of the profits just to be able to use their platform to a dying industry such as TV or a network TV? You've already done the work. Like, unless you want to just do some kind of a licensing agreement or a distribution agreement or something like that, then you got to figure that out for yourself. But why would you organically build up your following just to give your followers over to a major network? And it's a dying industry. I think that he can build the infrastructure around himself to monetize it better, and that he'd make way more money and continue to grow, his platform that way. But in no way, shape, or form would I ever just look for a TV deal. Deals are done. Deals is just a deal is the same thing as like a record contract. Man, I want a deal from a record label company. I don't need no deal. I don't need no advance money. I don't need nobody dictating when I can release. I may need distribution. I may need to tap into your audience to see if I can get an even bigger audience, but I don't even need to do that no more because I've grown my stuff organically. So I think that he's making a huge mistake by trying to get a TV network deal. And maybe he's trying to do it so he can put his family on. But no way, shape, or form would I ever try to do that. That, in my opinion, is the definition of selling out. Now, that's the first 2 things. The second main thing, or the third thing, because really that was like 1 and 1.5. The second main thing is I think that Keith Lee needs to have more of a business mindset when it comes to what he's going to do. I know he wants to help people. I know he always say his steps is ordered by God, but at some point, you're going to have a business mindset if you're going to be in this game, because it's going to be bad and as well as it's going to be good. And if you're going to do this, then you're going to have just as much energy towards the people that you help, or unless you're going to call a food tour like the all good, I'm a help, I'm only going to review good restaurants tour. You know what I'm saying? Other than that, there's no point in you even posting anything that's wrong or bad, because you're going to have thicker skin, understanding that everybody shouldn't be in business, or everybody don't deserve to be having a restaurant, or everybody don't have good service, and you just gonna have to be objective about that, right? As long as you're not going out there with an axe to grind in order to try and ruin people, but you're just giving an honest opinion and an honest review. If that's the business that you in, then that's the business that you in. And so it's their responsibility to give a great review in the same way that any of these other reviewers. Just because you have a bigger platform and you have more influence doesn't mean that they're not supposed to do what they're supposed to do as far as, you know, giving an honest review or giving great service and great food that goes along with it. That's just the name of the game. But yeah, so Keith Lee stops his Bay Area tour because of I guess a lack of restaurants, a lack of good food, a lack of good service, a lack of greatness over there, and nothing but homelessness and trash. I mean, we got to go ahead and bring the Bay to the front of the congregation, huh? All right, okay. Let me read a couple of the super chats, and then we're going to continue on with the show. A.R. Smitty is in the building, says, thanks for making my Saturday time, dog. No, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you, big dog. Thank you. Hashtag CT in the building. Jamal Fowler says, happy Saturday and time. Be great. Peace. Shout out to you. Greg Charlie is in the building, says, it threw me off when Biden won Michigan. Don't even remind me of it. That's crazy. I live in the suburbs after you leave Detroit. This is Trump land. Facts. Patrick Troy, but you got to remember, Michigan is a big state. You got Kalamazoo, you got Flint, you got Grand Rapids. You got all of these places. Patrick Troy is in the building, says, Snake Plissken, love that movie. Which one, Escape from LA or said about Jason Whitlock? And so I figured that I'd go ahead and review that, because Shannon Sharp's perspective, in my opinion, was completely separate and different from, and Jason Whitlock responded, right? I believe he played it inside of his recent live stream that he did addressing Shannon Sharp. So I wanted to review that. Again, make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. And one of the things that I also want you guys to keep in mind when we're going over this is, are there gatekeepers? Because I'm starting to see a whole 2024 is different a little bit than what I thought it was going to be. It's different because how often do I come to Biloxi? As much as I can. As much as I possibly can. 2024 is unfolding. And you know what it's showing me? It's showing me that every industry, it's not just us on social media. It's not just people fighting and being catty and stuff on social media. Every industry is the same. You know what it's like? High school. None of us actually grow up, or most people don't really grow up from high school. And so you're going to see these bickering and fighting and the Mean Girls Club and gatekeepers and Hollywood, Cat Williams, comedy, they all saying gatekeepers. It's the Mean Girls Club. Sports, it's Skip Bayless, Shannon Sharp, Stephen A. Smith, Chris Broussard. They all Mean Girls Club, right? The internet, every industry, social media, food reviewers, it seems like every single industry is just like high school. It's just like, even if you go into the plant, I see somebody says, yeah, my working at Walmart, my first job, it's the same way. Even if you go into the plant, it's just like high school. If you go into Amazons, the UPSs, any call center, it's the Mean Girls Club, it's the chick you want to bust down, it's the jock that take all of the phone calls really fast, that's probably on a fast track to becoming a supervisor. It's the same thing over and over. Yep, the Get Along Gang, over and over and over and over again. All right, so I want to play this really quickly. certain segments in here, so I want to get straight to the part where he addresses Shannon Sharp. All right, here we go.
Rant and beef with me. I want to replay that clip of Shannon Sharp on his show.
Hold on, let me get this. Let me address this. He says, Birdman Fly Guy, this is an interactive show. Birdman Fly Guy says, you a gatekeeper yourself, Anton, because you're getting that Republican money to push their talking points, especially when it comes to black people. Who giving me Republican money? Where? Who donating to my campaign? And who am I signed to? What Republican money? As a matter of fact, I would even go so far as to say, I went against the grain. I was the one that they outcasted. I was the one that, listen, I stand on what I said, and I mean what I say. And I just talked to her. I was just texting with her the other day. I'm the one that defended the very thing that everybody was against. I went against everybody. They tried to cancel me for the women. They tried to cancel me for holding down Pearl when I went against every other single YouTuber. Some people turned their backs on me. I'm not going to name them names because that's under the bridge. How am I a gatekeeper when I stood 10 toes down by myself? How am I a gatekeeper? Who am I gatekeeping? Who am I preventing from getting in? I'm trying to figure it out myself. How can I be a gatekeeper on YouTube when I don't have any power to keep anybody from getting inside of the gate? I stand on my own. Only people I need, or the only things I need, is God and my chasers and my people. That's all I need. I just tell it like I see it. Shout out to, well, I'm going to read the super chat shortly. Let me get into this whole thing.
The Club Shay Shay or the Nightcap talking about me and, you know, why he doesn't mess with me and how I can't do what he can do. Play the clip.
Right. I don't look. I don't mess with him. I don't mess with him. He knows I don't mess with him. He likes to bring my name. You know, Fox tried to feed him some information about this and that, and he threatened. I don't get into all that. I just look. I know who I am. I know what I am. Okay, y'all say all y'all little stuff because see the problem that he has with me. See, and this is what a lot of people have that are journalists. You see, I can sit at the desk on ESPN or I did it at Fox, and I can do what they do. They could never live in my world. They could never play pro sports. So now, not only could I play sports and I was damn good, I can sit across and I'm more entertaining. I'm more informative. I'm more educational than you. And see, those that...
Did somebody say who else I put on? Boy, I was just on a live stream yesterday on a smaller channel. I support so many smaller... Man, listen. I like entertaining this because I basically created a whole segment here on YouTube. It's 1,000 people that created channels and made a lot of money off of me. It's a lot of people that got bags as a result of me. It's a lot of people that you would have never known. You would have never even, as a matter of fact, y'all wouldn't even have known certain channels that I used to be a part of when I had already started getting popping and I already had a platform with over 60,000 subscribers way before I jumped on that platform and I used my platform in order to big them up. It's certain people that you wouldn't even be familiar with if it wasn't for me. It's a lot of people that is now eating good on this YouTube that give me my flowers, so I have no complaint whatsoever. They give me my flowers. They say, yo, Anton, you do this, you do that, you helped us, you gave us the game, and I still support them to this day.
Can do those that can't talk. You see, all they can do is talk. I can do it. That irks them. Yeah. It irks them that somebody from rural South Georgia with a list that overcame that can do this. It bothers them.
Shout out to Jason Whitlock. He actually came on the platform. Yes, I may have a line or two to him, but that's irrelevant. I'm trying to be objective here, okay?
So, Shannon Sharp's position is that I could never do what he do or what he does. I could never live in his world. We could never play professional sports. And he's accurate. But what he doesn't understand is I could never do what he did. And so now that Shannon Sharpe and I are both in our 50s, what he did in his 20s and 30s, it's irrelevant. The things that he did in his 20s and 30s, I think me and Shannon are around the same age. And so when we were in our teenage years and 20s, I could do what Shannon Sharpe did
I see you love
in his
Steve.
teenage years and 20s. I played Division I college football. He played at Savannah State. He was more talented than playing at Savannah State, but because his grades and learning ability were limited at that time, he could only get into Savannah State. And so back when we were younger, I did what Shannon Sharpe did. Now, did I have as much football talent as Shannon Sharpe? Absolutely not. I never got a sniff of the NFL. No one, I was never an NFL prospect. But neither is Shannon Sharpe now. He's not. He's 50 some odd years old. He's got replaced hips. So it doesn't matter what.
Shannon Sharpe got hip replacement surgery. Shannon Sharpe got. Jeez. Yo, Jason Whitlock is the king of throwing shots at people. But I mean, I guess if you say something about him or you return shots about him, then you got to be prepared for it. All this is content creators going after content creators in the same way that content creators go after content creators on a smaller scale. That's all this is.
He used to do. I'm not jealous of him about what he could do, and you know, I could never do.
People saying he do got hip replacements. Jay Johnson, he got both of his hips replaced. So he did get hip replacements. 104 bands each.
Do what he did. He's right. I'm not jealous of that. He doesn't understand that he can never do what I do. And I'm not saying that to brag, but Shannon Sharpe's never going to be a journalist, ever. He has no interest in being a journalist. He doesn't need to be a journalist because journalism's not valued in this space the way that it used to be. And so
I'm not attacking his hips. I'm reacting to what Jason Whitlock said. Jason Whitlock said that he had hip. I didn't know that before Jason said it. Why you always get mad at me because I'm listening to what somebody else says and I'm surprised at what they say? He said, yeah, Shannon had both his hips replaced. I thought that was funny because he was throwing a shot. They went off of Jason Whitlock and said that he was fat. And so now he said that Shannon got 2 hips replaced and now it's all of a sudden it's attack. Now look, if you are a content creator, then what you say can be held accountable and you can have the right to go back at somebody. I believe that there's rules of engagement. And I don't think that you talk about kids. I don't think you talk about somebody's spouse unless that spouse then comes on there and be a content creator with you, or whatever. I think you attack the talking point and you stay away from the personal so much as far as the things that surround a person. But if they called him Stephen A. Smith went and called him a fat bastard, I don't think that it's outside of the realm of possibility that this guy can then say, well, Shannon Sharpe got both of his hips replaced.
Oh, it's could I do what Shannon Sharpe does now? Absolutely. I don't want to do it.
Listen, Jason, I agree with a lot of your talking points. I'm going to say that is a cap. I'm going to say, without a doubt, I do not believe that Jason Whitlock can do what Shannon Sharpe does. I don't believe it. Nope. Listen, it's a lot of things that I agree with Jason Whitlock on. But if I'm just going to absolutely, positively be real, and I have to be real, respectfully, no, you cannot do what Shannon Sharpe is doing at this level. Shannon Sharpe is literally the GOAT of sports right now. There is nobody even in Stephen A. Smith is not even in the same category as Shannon Sharpe. Shannon Sharpe made Chad Ochocinco relevant on YouTube again. Now I know that Chad was a part of a bunch of other shows and stuff, but as far as having his own platform and stuff like that, no, people don't even go on there for Chad. They go on there for Shannon Sharpe. That's being real. Shannon Sharpe was the most coveted free agent. His interviews with Cat Williams got Willie D out there looking like a fool. I heard Willie D did a whole live stream where he was going off on people because they didn't like his. That wasn't Willie D's fault. That was Shannon Sharpe doing such a good job interviewing Cat Williams. Shannon Sharpe is beyond a doubt. I may not agree with everything that he says, but Shannon Sharpe, with no reservation, I could say definitively is the top sports person in the world right now. There is nobody. Maybe you could say a Pat McAfee. But amongst your peers and people like that, there ain't nobody really messing with Shannon Sharpe except for Pat McAfee. That's it. There's no way. No, I do not believe that he can do what Shannon Sharpe is doing. He could try, but I do not believe that he's even remotely in the same conversation. Nobody is in the same conversation with Shannon Sharpe right now. Nobody.
I refuse. It's like the whole point of the Cat Williams. It's like
Bob Brown says only thing Shannon can do better is interview, and that's it. AD. No, that's not true. Shannon is better as a sports person, a debater, a person that goes back and forth. Listen, you see what happened to Undisputed after Shannon Sharpe left? They replaced him with like 4 other guys, and they still ain't nobody even checking for what's happening over there with Skip Bayless right now. Nobody is checking for what's happening on Undisputed with Richard Sherman and all of those guys. Nobody is with Michael Irvin. They not. Stop, Fi Brown. Stop it, bro. I mean, listen, if we just gonna be objective and we gonna be real, it's levels to this. Shannon Sharpe is at the top of his game, at the top of the top when it comes to content creation in that space. That's just a fact.
The whole point
hello, buddy.
of the Cat Williams interview clearly
doing?
flew over Shannon's head. And this again is why I say he can't do what I do. He can't think critically. He can be entertaining, and I've given him credit for that.
Around
he
the
is
world 3.
Yeah. He's worked on his broadcasting
Part
skills,
1.
and he's created an environment
Going to
where other people who don't really think critically
Bay
feel
Airport.
comfortable coming on his show and
Probably
sharing
about
their
like
thoughts.
See, he throwing shots, and it's valid.
Yeah,
he can
about
say
an
whatever
hour.
shots he want to throw because they throwing them at him. He's saying other people that don't think critically feel comfortable going on Shannon Sharpe's platform. Come on, Jason. Come on. It's sounding a little salty. If we gonna call you objective, because he objectively, and I think that I can't wait to break down the whole beef between him and Stephen A. tonight. But if we gonna be objective, you can't say people that can't think critically are feeling comfortable coming on this platform. You got to stop the cap. Come on, we got to be real. That's not true.
I hats off to him. I've celebrated what he's doing and how he's transitioned, how much more I enjoy it than what he did at FS1. But I've made a choice because the things he's doing now, I think, are very easy. And Cat Williams went on Shannon Sharpe's show and basically for 3 hours explained what it is Shannon Sharpe does. And there are many people who picked up on the fact that Cat Williams was perhaps trolling or trying to send a bat signal to Shannon Sharpe. Like, hey, bro, in order to get the support from the industry, you have to be willing to sell out. You have to be willing to bend over. You have to abandon your godly beliefs. Anybody can do that.
Nope, I'm not going for it. I don't listen. There's plenty of demons out here that's just full of the devil. They not rich, they not successful. Just because you sell out don't mean that you're gonna be successful. It's a whole lot of people that's no, I'm not going for it. On this one, objectively, I'm taking a different position. That's not true. Anybody can't do it because if anybody could, plenty of people would. People would sell their left nut to be over in some of these positions that a lot of these people that are successful in. Nope, they can't. Nope. It still take talent. It still take a combination of things in order for you to be successful. And I don't believe that even for a second. Nope.
And Cat Williams, again, this is my interpretation and other people's interpretation, was telling Shannon, we know what you did to get here. And hats off for the work you've done and put in. This is enjoyable. But Shannon, we've all...
Man, you need some cough drops, big dog.
Sat and watched.
Every time he cough, I'll be wanting to cover for him. Oh, shoot. It's a lot of that.
Football player. Run around the country. Promote stuff on his Instagram and social media feeds that his beat.
Listen, Connie, you're wrong. You're wrong. Connie says it was weird that Shannon pretended he didn't know. Shady stuff going on in Hollywood. When he lives there, I called Cap every time that he said that during... Look, let me tell you what makes Shannon Sharpe a great interviewer. And what a lot of people that interview don't understand. What I had to learn and how I'm evolving as a person that brings people on my platform and interview them is that your job as an interviewer is to recognize that you are not the center of attention. Your job as the interviewer is to navigate around the person that's talking in order to keep them talking about the things that you want them to talk about. Whatever it is that you want them to talk about and is relevant. And so it really doesn't matter how Shannon acted. What mattered was he got the best out of Cat Williams, which is why you're seeing such a huge difference between what Cat Williams was like on Willie D's platform and what he was like on Shannon Sharpe's platform. And Willie D just basically rode the wave of what Shannon Sharpe had already created. Your job as an interviewer is to get the most out of them. So it doesn't matter what you do or what you pretend to do or whether you agree or disagree. I want them to keep talking. I want them to give all of their thoughts. And so if I have to do a little bit of pivoting or I have to do a little bit of this or say, man, you think so? Even if I believe it also, you are the center of attention. And so I had to learn that. I had to figure it out. I had to figure out, hey, when you interviewing, sometimes you got to pull back. Sometimes you got to talk a little bit more because they may not feel comfortable talking about certain subjects. The goal is to make them as comfortable as possible when they talking. So it don't have nothing to do with whether he pretended not to know. It's more or less about the fact that y'all don't really understand what the goal is of the interview. And it's the person, not you. So I disagree with that, Connie. I disagree.
EFF.
And that's why I say that Jason Whitlock believes this. Even when Jason Whitlock came on my platform, the fact that I was able to get him on my platform just by him observing what it was that I was saying about him at that particular time. And then when he came on the platform, a lot of people said, well, Anton, you didn't have that same energy for him when he came on, because I realized that when he came on the platform, unscripted, unplanned, it then wasn't about me. I wasn't trying to debate Jason Whitlock. I was trying to be a conversationalist to get as much as I possibly can about him or what his thought process was about what was relevant at the time out. I was willing to put myself down in order to exalt him because he was the reason why I was trying to get him on a platform in the first place. And listen, y'all got to understand, it's not about standing 10 toes down. Even in a Fleece interview, right? My job on a Fleece interview, don't you realize, think about it. Don't y'all realize that Fleece has not been relevant? I mean, I'm just going to keep it real. Fleece has not been relevant on any other platform since he was on my platform. I was the only platform where we did well over 1 million views with Fleece Johnson. If it was that easy and he's done other interviews, how come nobody else is checking? Nobody else, he did no numbers on any other platform. Right? There is an art form to certain people. When I interview certain people and they come on our platform, sometimes our chemistry just hit and we just do it over and over and over and over again. You know, Vlad does really good interviews with Boosie. As much as I don't care for Vlad, Tony Yayo and Boosie does really well on Vlad. Because Vlad likes to insert himself into conversations where Boosie, it seems like, is not a conversationalist. Boosie is very reserved, and so he lets Vlad talk, but people are there for Boosie, but he's able to keep Boosie engaged enough to actually have a relevant conversation. Whereas Boosie is more of the type of person, it seems like, where he just be high chilling and just giving his little opinion, and sometimes it's funny and sometimes it's not. So certain people work with certain platforms, but I think it's disingenuous for Jason Whitlock to think that he can do what Shannon Sharpe does, but he's never really done it.
Out of the closet, gay, male, stylist. And we've watched y'all sit courtside at NBA games. We've watched you walk around with some little poodle or puppy like Paris Hilton. We've seen all of that. And Cat Williams was trying to say, like, hey, bro, don't take the deal. He was trying to win over Shannon Sharpe's head. And someone sat on his show and explained to everybody, here's what you need to do to be super successful in this industry. Here's what you need to do to get the backing of the major media companies, the major Hollywood industry. You have to be very flexible sexuality-wise. I don't know anything about Shannon Sharpe's sexuality. I really don't. I tend to think he's heterosexual. I tend to think based off when I used to be friendly with him, and all I know, the kind of jokes, again, Shannon Sharpe's famous joke, if you ever see me with a black woman, I'm holding her for the police. That was Shannon Sharpe. Heterosexual like white girl.
Jason Whitlock is very, very strategic. Very strategic. And sometimes I agree with him and sometimes I don't. Jason Whitlock right here is throwing individual shots, which again, Shannon Sharpe is a content creator also, and so he should be able to take it, and it's okay. But you got to be able to see it. And Jason Whitlock is very strategic with throwing individual shots in between his narrative that make it seem like, oh no, he's just saying whatever it is that the truth is. No, that had no relevance to what Shannon Sharpe said. And so him bringing that out is actually a shot. It's actually a shot. And him making sure that he said, no, listen, and you know what? And I know that he's heterosexual, even though his favorite joke is, if you ever see me with a black girl, I'm holding her for the police. Jesus Christ. Oh, God. Jason knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. He know what he's doing. Yeah, you sly dog, you, Jason.
I'm not knocking it. I'm just explaining it. But I don't know where he's at in any of that. I just know the kind of signals he's letting off. And again, I'm not saying the guy needs to be anti-LGBTQ. I'm not saying that he has to be that. I'm not saying he can't have LGBTQ friends. But when your social media feed and part of you build into part of your public persona is that your best friend, your road dog, the guy you running around with, is an out-of-the-closet gay male stylist, you letting off signals to the puppet masters that I'm down for the play.
Come on, man. That's so cap. That's not true. That's not true. I respect a lot of people that's good at their jobs. I disagree with the idea of homosexuality based off of my own spiritual beliefs, right? But I also disagree with sleeping outside of your marriage in wedlock. They both sins to me. They're both sins. And so, but I still believe in people's humanity. So I'm not going to deny you the opportunity to be able to feed yourself and feed your family or anything like that, just because I don't necessarily agree with you based off of whatever it is that I stand for from a spiritual perspective, simply because nobody really is perfect on this earth. So come on, man. He reaching. I have never heard in my life personally anything about Shannon Sharpe ever being zesty or sleeping with a man or anything like that. Come on, bro. Come on, man. Come on, Jason. Stop it. Stop it, man. Stop it, bro.
Take the deal. that's what Cat Williams was trying to subtly point out to you. Like, you down for the deal? You got all the attention over here. Everybody, your show's going bonkers, and this interview now has 40 million views. Did you take the deal? And so,
hold on. You can't cough over the coffee or the tea or the drink or whatever, or the water or what you drink. Hold on, Jason. Stop. Hold on, fam. You can't just, you can't do that, bro. Respectfully, you can't just hit us with that.
It's going bonkers, and this interview now has 40 million views. Did you take the deal? And so,
in a minute, I'm gonna cut this segment short, y'all.
there's, as I said yesterday, but I just want to clear it up and say it, put a little more focus on it. There's nobody with a brain and any experience in the sports TV industry that isn't well aware there's nothing on sports television.
I'm the type of person that when people cough open in the open air like that, I'll be like, hey man, you gonna cover your mouth? That's honest to God. When people be walking by, we could be in the mall or something, they just be like, ah! Or they just sneeze, yes, yeah. And that's in hey man, what's wrong with you? I believe in shaming, public shame. Public shame. I believe in publicly shaming people that cough and sneeze with their mouth wide open and don't cover. You ain't even hit me with one of these, we got a problem, family. Because that should be reflex. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know how when you about to cough or sneeze, if people just do it openly, but oh no, it's just because I'm outside. No, that's because that's not what you're used to doing. If you're not doing this, man, you got a problem, big dog.
From cracking jokes to doing serious interviews to putting together monologues to being entertaining, funny, whatever, that I can't do.
Connie, you can't do that. Plenty of NFL players are gay. It's not out of the question. When you hire and hang with an openly zesty dude, a suspect, when you claim to be heterosexual, you can't do that. The one thing that we gotta stop doing is we gotta stop always trying to assume the negative. Even in society, it's supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. Unless somebody has facts, unless somebody has a fact that somebody is or isn't, you can't say, but you can't say that they ain't either. You can't do that. You cannot do that. If somebody say, hey, I'm heterosexual, or I don't like this, or I ain't never been this way, you can't say, well, because they got a stylist. No, I don't agree with them hanging around with people either, but you can't just automatically assume that they that way. Just because you don't care for them or just because of that, you can't do that. You can't do that.
But there are certain things I will not do. I will not violate my values. I will not promote things I don't believe in. I will not send off bat signals like, I'm down for the play, I'm flexible.
Come on, Jason.
I won't do it. I could do it, but I won't do it. Anybody. And again, as Cat Williams is explaining, everybody is doing.
All right, that's the end of that one. There's only so many coughs I can take personally. Shout out to Jason Whitlock. He knows that I actually rock with him on a lot of the different things that he talks about. But I don't agree with you on this one. I don't agree with him on this one. I think that every point that he made, he's reaching. He talking about. I think that he's reaching on this one. I don't think it's necessary to respond to everybody. I think you got to be very strategic when you talk about certain things. I don't agree with what Jason Whitlock is saying right here, but that's just me being objective and saying what I really think instead of just agreeing with him because I rock with Jason Whitlock. Julius Jermaine is in the building, says, y'all just make sure that y'all win tomorrow because if y'all don't, you'll hear from me on Monday. Hey, we just happy to be in the playoffs. We ain't been in the playoffs in like 30 years or something. So shout out to my Detroit Lions. I hope your team is in the playoffs. Latrell says prayers goes out to Rita in her upcoming surgery. Shout out to y'all. I appreciate y'all for holding her down. A.K. Harrison says Shay Shay's 48 means gatekeeper doorman. I don't know what that means. Shout out to the Life of Scony in the building. Make sure y'all subscribe to that YouTube.
homes are unaffordable. Now, I've been very much adamant about this topic, but like, you already know how homes are. I'm not gonna lie, anybody in Gen Z is just you're never gonna get a home. You're gonna be living with your parents until like you're 30, I'm gonna be honest. Like, you're not getting a home, you're not moving out, like it's over for you. So I'm very interested in this topic. I'm very interested in this topic. I'm gonna make it, and I hope y'all do. I truly hope y'all do. Sit there. I hope I do, bro. Look where I'm at. I'm still home.
The housing market is on its last legs. Every year, more and more people get pushed out of even having the possibility of having their own home.
The United States is going through a housing affordability crisis. Correct. Now, this surge is causing many Americans to wonder, are we barreling toward a housing market crash?
A whole generation priced out of their future, treading water just to keep their heads above the currents. Meanwhile, the entrenched upper classes and corporate landlords see their investments skyrocket in value as the demand for homes continually outruns the supply. But this presents a perplexing situation, with almost everyone is priced out of
like
home.
a home like this, dude. This definitely like has to be 10K a month. Normally this would be what back then, bro. This would be like 2K and a buck a nickel. Now it's like $10,000.
Ownership. Then what's driving this
Not
rapid
making out the hood with
increase
this
in
one.
housing costs? And even more importantly, if nobody can afford houses, who's going to be
Get on my
buying
grind.
these homes in the first
Like a
place?
mill just to buy it?
Well, maybe this is the reason that for the first time in years, house prices have begun to fall in the UK and quickly.
Oh, really?
We've seen a 4.7% drop over the past year.
Okay, that's a good thing then. The hell, that's a good thing. We need that.
The highest level since 2009, and the US isn't far behind. Prices finally beginning to stagnate after years of back-to-back price hikes. And yet even
we need
still,
that.
it's almost impossible for anyone to own a home. And with stagnating wages and less ownership, what's going to happen to the housing market? Is this the
It's just because money. Like, people just aren't getting paid more. Or they're getting paid a little bit more, but just not enough.
beginning of the
For a
crash?
house or something.
Has the market finally hit a breaking point? Or is it just going to recover, reset itself, and happen all over again?
Can I just live in my Minecraft house?
When you're a kid, you get told that there's a set of goals for you to hit. Milestones that make the difference between success and failure. Some of them are getting a college degree, buying your first car, getting married and starting a family. But above everything else, you're told that buying your own home is the key to not just surviving, but thriving. It's not just an outdated picture today, it's a fairy tale. A relic of a time when homes were actually affordable and one salary could support a family. Today, everything's different. Forces like overpopulation, inflation, inequality, and a lack of supply have gathered over generations.
That's the thing. I'm trying to think of it. I never really grew up with a dream of like having. I don't really. I mean, I never really had.
Putting us right where we are
There's
today.
times
If
I
you
did-
take a look at how affordable housing is today, it's the worst it's ever been in decades. We all know this. And despite the fall in prices for the UK, there's still a long way to go before average people will have a shot at home ownership. The average home still goes for a little over £260,000, £45,000 higher than.
And I think that's like 45,000 pounds. I think that's.
Making it far more expensive to borrow money. This is
Yeah,
meant
see, that just goes to show. Move out the UK.
for far harsher mortgages and less people willing to buy dropping prices. Both buyers and sellers are getting squeezed, and real estate moguls like Warren Buffett know a storm is coming, so they're making their move. In the first half of 2023, his firm sold over $20 billion worth of stock.
Damn!
But when stocks in real estate are crashing, you can still protect and even grow your savings through diversification. Thousands of my followers alone have been doing so, with one of the most unique, reliable assets in the world, fine art. You see, our sponsors and masterworks have generated over 40.
I didn't even notice that was a sponsor. That was a good transition.
Every one of them
You guys can
today
check that out if you
are
guys want.
buying it
Okay.
or even begin to catch up are more expensive. Potential of
Damn,
them
where is
not
it?
always indicative of future performance. In the short term, the UK is facing the potential of a major crash. The post-COVID recovery hasn't gone as planned. Everything got
modern
far
art.
more expensive as inflation outpaced wages. When
Nigga, what?
recovery hasn't gone as planned, everything got
Bro, $3.50 for a sandwich, or that's pounds. Is that pounds? Oh my god, so that's like $4 something, almost $5 for that. I mean, I guess it's decently big, but damn.
far more expensive as
Bro, if you don't just sit at home and buy the bread, you can literally buy the ingredients for this and probably equal this price and make like 5 or 10 of these sandwiches.
inflation outpaced wages. We're now only seeing wages even begin to catch up when the interest rate was 0%. During COVID and even before, mortgage deals were much cheaper. Lots of people took advantage and got on the property ladder, buying expensive houses. Every house is expensive today, but still, June of 2021 saw the largest increase in homes bought in the UK by a wide margin, over 165,000. In April of 2023, there was just under 40,000 homes sold, half of what it was just a few months before. And it's a similar picture in the US.
And it's, wait, did that say 2020? That's 2020 houses went up? How are people buying houses? Oh no, completed. Number of completed house sales per month. Okay, so it is houses. Why did it go up in 2020? I thought it would be lower.
50,000 homes sold, half of what it was just a few months before. And it's a similar picture in the US. Over 6 million homes were sold in 2021. It dropped by 1 million in 2020 and is expected to drop a bit over 4 million this year. The average mortgage on the average home with a 20% down payment costs $2,440.
$2,440 for those with a 20% down payment. That's pretty crazy. If you're living alone, you can't live alone in a house single-handedly. You're gonna have to have some roommates, I don't know, a girlfriend or boyfriend or something to help you, but you're not paying $2,440 plus all the other shit you gotta pay. There's no way. Interest was very low in 2020. Okay, that's probably why.
This year now in the US, nearly 1,000.
How many houses did Bill Gates buy? Bro, he probably bought the whole block or something and then just kept it. He kept it and raised the prices.
$200 less than it was 2 years ago.
Motherfuckers need like $25 minimum wage.
Lots of these homeowners got in with comparatively good deals, but those fixed rate deals are coming to an end soon.
It's the next few quarters where you'll see the worst pain for the housing market because the majority of mortgage borrowers in the UK are on fixed rates, and the Bank of England estimates that only a third of the rate hikes that have already been done have passed through already.
As those mortgages all get renegotiated to today's interest, it's going to leave people with a massive jump in monthly payments that are still just going to the bank for interest. A massive proportion of people won't be able to make the payments. A similar situation to what happened in 2008. Other costs like energy, food, and the rest have all gone sky high as well, leaving little room for this. The average American is already over $10,000 in debt through credit cards alone.
$10,000 in credit card debt? Okay, I don't know the average American they're talking about. I don't even think that's true. 10,000? Bro, how dumb do you have to be with your money to be 10,000 in credit card debt? Like when you open a credit, the first thing is you have to reach a $10,000 limit. You have to reach a $10,000 credit limit in general. And that takes some time. You have to build up credit for that to happen. That's like a year or 2 years or something. And then after that, you reach the point where you just throw it all away. They never heard of a debit card? I just give up? That just sounds unrealistic. I don't believe that. I need to see the average American they're talking
falling
about.
House prices will only make things worse. Without equity, people will be left without the means to downsize and buy a different house. This is just one reason why it might not be a great idea to sell your house right now. In the UK, home prices have dropped for 6 months in a row. The only thing keeping them up has been the rampant inflation. Real drops are as high as 13% once you account for it, with even more price drops looming. Any home you buy might fall in value by 10% or more within a year. If you only had enough for a small deposit under that amount, you'd end up losing far more money than if you just waited or rented. Massive interest rates also aren't helping things, and they aren't going to go away anytime soon. They make it so much more expensive to pay off the mortgage, especially considering the first years of the deal are mostly paying off interest. This means you'd be stuck.
Bro, the worst thing about getting like a mortgage is, y'all know mortgage deals are like 15 to 30 years. Like, can you imagine signing a contract right now at your age and then 15 to 30 years? That's like the contract you have. Some of them you can't even leave until that certain point. You have to keep paying that shit off. And I've really been learning more of this, bro, because I've been trying to figure out these things, man. It's crazy. Us Americans are too hilariously stupid, sadly.
Paying the banks far more than usual. In a few years, the interest rates will hopefully have cooled down. And there's also the very clear potential of a massive crash right now. Anyone with skin in the game that needs to downsize after the massive hit would find it hard. Everything we just talked about would make it much more costly to get out of a bad deal. It's a cruel circle that tons of people need house prices to fall to be able to afford one. If they do fall, it will ruin millions of other people's financial plans and stability. It's a result of the shift in views on homes from a necessity and a commodity to an investment. After World War II, when the boomers were being born, buying a home was a lot different. Everything was a lot different, really.
Bro, I hate looking at the old prices of homes. Like, you see the old homes, they're like full home, 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, $50,000. Just buying shit. You actually just buy it. It's crazy how money's just paper and it means nothing, but we value it so much. They can get a philosophical. I don't know.
to our current stagnation, it was a time of rebirth. In the US, this growth was pushed by the GI Bill. To reward the people who fought in the war and restart the economy, the government provided a massive package of aid to veterans. They subsidized mortgages, paid people a year's worth of
Oh, they
wages.
definitely don't do that now, bro. You know how many homeless veterans and stuff I be seeing? There's no way they do that anymore.
If they were
refuse to believe that.
unemployed,
There's no
and
way.
gave out low-interest loans which people
gotta
could
value
use to
it.
build a new life. It was a reflection of a less specific rebuilding project going on throughout the West. In the UK, over 1.2 million new homes were being built between 1946 and 51. House prices remained steady and low for years. More were being built and mortgages weren't seen as financial investments that they are today. There wasn't an expectation of continued growth offset against interest payments. It was this world of prosperity the baby boomer generation was born into, and they enjoyed the benefits as they were growing up and buying their own homes. But it couldn't last forever. Over time, the rebuilding frenzy died down. More people were born, more families were created, and more houses were needed. Soon enough, demand and inflation started to outpace the supply, and the prices started going up. By now, it was the 70s, and masses of baby boomers had grown up and bought their own homes. There were more mortgages than ever for the banks to play with, but the current model wasn't working too well.
No wonder
Back
Walter
in those
started
days,
cooking
mortgages
meth.
were often shorter, had higher deposits, and a final lump sum to be paid at the end of the term. There wasn't much room for the banks to make interest, and they had to deal with each mortgage individually. They weren't glamorous or particularly good at making large amounts of money for the banks, but one man could see their true potential for profit, and his name was Louis Ranieri. Louis was born in New York in 1947 to an obscure, relatively unknown family. After dropping out of college, his first job in the banking industry was unremarkable. Starting in the mail room at a firm called Solomon Brothers, Lewis spent a decade slowly working his way up the
You wonder
corporate
why
ladder.
crime
Early in
rate
his career, though,
increases?
his bosses noticed his skills with maths and his ability to see profit where others couldn't, along with his uncanny salesmanship. And so as he went up the totem pole, Lewis eventually found himself in a leading role at the mortgages department in his bank. It would have been a dead end for most, but Lewis's biggest strength was his ability to innovate, and it was here that he would come up with his career-defining idea, the mortgage-backed security. It worked by combining a whole set of mortgages from various homeowners into one asset, which would pay out the interest payments made to whoever owned it. Lewis had single-handedly turned mortgages into a profit bonanza, using his sales techniques and the help of a banker.
Bro, that just shows the butterfly effect. So everything would be perfectly fine if it wasn't for this nigga. Hey, fuck this nigga. This is an old video, is he dead?
Called Larry Fink, their bank sold them by the truckload to other banks and pension funds across the country. And this was one of the most important shifts in the last century. Lewis had turned.
All right. Done. At 1 hour, 26 minutes, I'm done with the first leg of the around the world journey. Telling you guys, this is gonna be a ride. Good night. Well, nobody's watching. It's 3 o'clock. Good night.